Welcome, welcome, welcome. This is the Public Works Podcast. My name is Joseph Blackman, and today we got a real treat for you. His name is Joshua Mair, and he is the Director of Public Works at the City of Converse in beautiful Texas. Joshua, say what's up to everybody.
Hey, everybody. I'm happy to be here. I'd love to talk about one of my passions, and my passion is public works. So I'm excited. Thank you for the opportunity.
For sure, man. I see you got the background behind you, the people, the purpose, and that's from APWA, right? You a part of
Yes, sir.
APWA?
Yes, sir. I've been with the organization for some time, served on the local branch, served on the state board as well in different capacities. Once was the TML representative for the affiliate group for APWA in Texas.
Okay.
And I currently am the chairperson for the Public Works Institute of Texas, which operates as a branch under the APWA. So I'm APWA proud, and I know at some point we'll get into it, but I'll tell you the impact that it's had in my professional career going forward. So
For sure. We'll definitely get into that. Converse, Texas. I'm unfamiliar. Give us kind of the lay of the land, square miles, population, amount of people or amount of employees in the public works department. Just kind of give us the rundown.
Sure. So we're on the northeast side of San Antonio. And the city was named after a general who built the railroad going from Houston to San Antonio. We are the second largest city in Bexar County behind San Antonio. There's a little right around the 30,000 population. You never really know what number you're looking at, but 30,000 would be the number I would go with there. And our square miles is right at that 10 square mile range. Not much ETJ. Everything's pretty much incorporated there. Don't quote me on the exact square mileage. I can tell you the exact number of center lane miles of road we have. That's something that I'm more familiar with. But as far as the area of the city, it's probably in that 8 to 10 square mile range.
Okay. Size of the public works department.
So within public works, which would count streets, buildings, grounds, all that, there's 36 individuals, and then there's about another 25 that are in the water and wastewater division, which is separate from the public works division that I oversee. They have their own director there, and if he's ever fortunate enough to watch this, he is a great water utility director over there, and I really enjoy working with him on a day-to-day basis. But altogether, we're in that 50 plus range. And then sometimes as summer help, we operate a seasonal pool. It'll jump by another 20 employees, give or take, just depending on what's going on there. So in the summer, it could swell up close to 70.
Okay. It's interesting. Every city is different. Some water, wastewater, fresh water is under public works, Yeah. So it goes different. But it from what I've learned, it's always good to have a good relationship with those other directors, because those are usually the people you're contacting or contacting you for most of the time.
I will say this: they ask us for help more than we ask them. So if he does hear that, I'll call him out right there.
Okay. Good stuff. Let's go. Let's dive into a little bit of the day in the life of Joshua. From the time you get to the office to the time you leave, give us a rundown of a random Tuesday.
Oh man, a random Tuesday. Well, our biggest priority is balancing the request of citizens. So most of the time we do spend a significant portion of our days responding, answering, and doing everything we can do within our purview to assist them with their issues. We do a lot of extra services for our residents, anywhere from brush collection, boat collection. It's endless. Anybody that knows anything about public works is basically is just a never-ending revolving door of new things. We assist other departments with dumping and barricades and traffic control and everything like that. But typically in our department, we complete about 200 calls for service a week, 200 to 300, just depending on the week with our crew, ranging anywhere from mowing grass to potholes. One of the crazy things we do in our city that maybe a lot of cities avoid or get out of, we actually do a lot of driveway repairs and level up. We're in poor subgrades in our city, and all the houses sink, all of the roads sink, all of the sidewalks and driveways sink, and then sometimes some of them pump up. So we actually spend a fair amount of time and resources doing driveway aprons, sidewalks, and road work, where we have to go in, raise the road, and if you raise the road, well, now the water's running into the resident's house because the house is 2 foot lower than it was when it was built back in the 70s or whenever it was.
No way.
And so we're having to do a lot of elevation changes and work. So it's probably our biggest struggle within our streets and department is dealing with moving subgrades. So that's probably our biggest problem that we deal with there.
Is that like a whole nother, not to say line item, but is that like a whole nother department? Like you got X amount of guys and girls set apart just for the subgrade division. Like you guys focus on this.
Yeah, we're not a huge department. We operate with one streets crew, and then we operate with one concrete crew. So they have a crew leader, an equipment operator, and then their maintenance workers there. And they each have their own scope of duty. Asphalt crew is just what it is. They do everything in between the curb line on the asphalt, and the sidewalk crew does everything from concrete front of curb back to private property, anything concrete related. So
Gotcha. Let's talk bulk collection a little bit. So, I know, random, right?
Yeah.
My city where I'm at, they went away from they kind of gave you like a zone of the city and a week that they were going to be coming through and picking stuff up. And so you had to know, like, okay, twice a year, your zone's up, get your stuff on the curb. You can only have so many cubic yards worth of materials, and probably, you get it. Then they switched to the appointment model. You get to make 2 appointments a year. And that allows you to say, hey, come on out. They'll confirm it. That means you get it on the curb. It can't be out there for more than 48 hours before. And they come and take it. So how are you guys operating in regards to bulk pickup?
So we have bulk and brush separate. Bulk is done through our solid waste franchisee. So the company that franchises that, we franchise with them to do that. And that's once a week. Anybody in the city can put their bulk out, and that's when it gets to go out. The brush, we do all that in-house. We have 2 brush chipper trucks and 2 crews that will go out, and we do that in zones, and we do it 1 week for zone 1 a month, 1 week in zone 2. We have 4 zones, so that means once a quarter, or once every 4 months, I guess. No, 3 months, excuse me. We go through there, and every street gets that service at that time.
Okay. I like it.
Yeah, we chip it all right on the side of the road. Most of the time, if it's too big, it goes in the back of the truck, and then it goes in the dumpster at the Public Works building, and then it's easier to just dispose of the mulch than limbs and stuff.
Yep. Gotcha. Let's talk about the origin story of Joshua. Every superhero, Superman just came out, Batman, they got where they started at to make him the man. So give us your career path from high school all the way up until today.
Well, I'm not traditional, so to speak. When I got out of high school, I was pretty much done with college. So I went straight to work, got into logistics, shipping, receiving, that type of stuff. And then got laid off, and it at the time was a bad point in my life. One of the worst things I had gone through as such a young man. But I landed a job with a mom and pop construction company that did site work, development, subdivisions, and things like that. And it took me back to the love I had as a kid of playing in the dirt out in grandma's yard with a little spoon and a Tonka truck kind of deal. And I got to start doing it in real life, driving Tonka trucks and dozers and blades and everything around in that site work. And I did that for a few years, even went with one of the larger contractors in Texas that does that type of work, and did some time there. And at one point, there was a bad year for the company I was working for. And I said, you know what? The writing's on the wall. I need to get somewhere. And I said, people say these city jobs are good and they're easy and they're laid back, and I know how to, drive equipment. So I'm going to go find me a city job. To be honest with you, I'm sure you've heard this before, but I was thoroughly surprised on how much work there is out there and how busy each and every city is. And my one little, I guess, unique part of the story was the city that hired me in 2010. I was the first employee that they had actually hired with the title of Public Works in their job title. Before me, the city had been incorporated for since 1981. So this was in 2010, and they had road work done, but it was contracted, or they had a council member in charge of this section of stuff, and they had code enforcement and animal control, and they would help out with different little things here and there. But I was the first employee that they actually hired, said, you're going to be a Public Works employee. And my first day on the job, the city administrator was walking around, and I said, hey, you hired me to be an equipment operator. When do I get to meet the rest of the crew? And he said, you are the crew, man. No one told you? And I said, told me what? He's like, yeah, you're the first public works employee, quote unquote, that we had here. And then he said, you know, those other 3 things on the job that said public works, animal control, and code enforcement. I said, yeah, I remember that application. I circled public works. I don't know nothing about none of that. He says, oh no, it's all the same job. So, you know, that's what you're going to be doing. And that's how my career in public works got started. I know you're going to ask me about a mentor later, so I'm going to start from there when I pick up that story. But yeah, that's my story, how I got into public works. I was looking for a cushy equipment operator job. And
why do you think that connotation is out there of like, oh, public works is where you go if you don't want to work? Like,
well, city employees get you know, I guess it's when someone drives by a hole and they see 3 guys leaning on a shovel and 1 in the hole, but they're now realizing that they're rotating because it's 110 degrees and they've all spent, you know, an hour in that hole each or whatever, and they're taking a little break. But you know, it's just perspective. And also I think a lot of times length of time it takes to get things done. You know, a lot of times construction inside the road work, public works, and transportation departments get blamed for the length of time. But I'm going to just put it on record right now. It's not our fault. It's the utilities. It's the daggum utilities fault, and all the paperwork we got to do to get out there to do that work. If they get rid, if there was no fiber lines in that roadway, and we didn't have a bunch of red tape, we'd be done real quick.
Yep. No, you're not wrong. All the paperwork that has to be done and locating and making sure you're digging safe and all that. That's what adds weeks and months to the project. Sure. Not traditional versus traditional. I always like to ask, you know, would you advise a youngster to go the non-traditional route, meaning they didn't get the summer intern with the city and work their way up to director, versus you went on the private route, you hit a couple bumps on the way, and you're like, hey man, I don't want to keep riding the roller coaster of private work. So what would you advise?
Yeah, I'm actually a huge proponent of the supporter of non-traditional. When I got out of high school, I had no idea what I wanted to do for a living and what I wanted to make a profession and a career out of it. I didn't know until I was 28 years old. I'm going to be honest with you. I went to college at the age of 38 to progress my career. So I was able to take education in a field that I was already chosen, or had already chosen to be my profession, and I knew I wanted to pursue. And so it was easier because I had real life experience to go along with the book learning, and it really made it a seamless transition. And city jobs, I always tell everybody, there's so much competition out there with private sector with what we're doing in city. But when you're with the city, you might make a little bit less money, but you're gonna in the end have greater rewards for what you're doing. And that goes everything from your benefits to your retirement to the lasting impact that you have on your city and society as a whole with the type of work you're doing. And if you view working for a city and public works, no matter what form of public works you're in, as a profession, and you give it the respect it deserves, you're gonna get much more out of it than what you put into it.
Yeah, no, that's somebody made a good point. I forgot who said it, but there's an altruistic, like a humanitarian aspect of working for a municipality, because you're like, again, you're not there strictly for the money. Of course, you got to get paid and feed your family and stuff, but you're not getting, it's not the competitive where that's the only thing you're focused on. You're focused on helping the ratepayers, making sure they're safe, making sure they're good to go. So I think that goes a long way, to be honest. So, skill sets. Let's say youngsters, they're asking you, they're like, hey, Joshua, like, what would be the main skill set they should pick up to be successful as a public works director? What would that be?
Specifically to be a public works director, I think the biggest skill is communication and being able to get support from every different party and person. You're basically a salesman for your department, for your city, for your infrastructure, whatever you're doing at the time. You have to get the elected officials on board. You got to get the general public on board. You got to get your department on board. You got to get your assistant directors, your foremen, your crew leaders, your maintenance workers. You got to get everybody on board and get everybody to take a little bit of buy-in in this, multi-million-dollar project that you're trying to get through. And so the biggest thing is, I hate to say it, is being able to sell the idea that you're trying to promote, and obviously make sure it's a good idea and use all your support there. various means, research and city engineering services and all the stuff that goes along into it. But realistically, it's getting all those different parties to actually agree on something. Because once you got the 30,000 people I mentioned that I work for on a daily basis, and once I got the majority of those 30,000 people on the same page and understanding the vision within Public Works, getting the job done is the easy part. It goes smoothly.
Yeah. Interesting. Let's dive a little bit deeper into that. Like, let's role play a little bit. Let's say you have to go to council. You know, you put on your good shirt, you get all cleaned up. You know, it's nighttime. You're in front of council. You got to sell them on I don't know. You got to close down Main Street for 2 weeks because you want to do some repairs there. And so on council, his brother owns that nice restaurant on Main Street. So, you're gonna piss him off. So what do you like? How do you sell it to him?
You got my emails hacked or what's going on here? No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. My approach would be to first inform why the project is needed. Why is it necessary? And then focus on the end benefits of it. The inconvenience in the middle during construction, there's not much that we can do about that other than trying to be as cognizant as we can and try to appease and facilitate every business as we go through with good planning. But ultimately, why we're doing it and what the benefit's going to be at the end. Hey, that business owner that's been driving in that same pothole or hitting that curb or getting stuck in traffic or whatever the reason we're in there, or having bad water pressure, or maybe his property is going to be worth more when we're done because we added water to it, we added sewer to it, or we increased capacity there. So those are the things that, hey, it might be a rough few months, whatever size of project is for you, but when we're done, here's how it's gonna benefit you. So
sure. Now you got to get it across to, let's say, the feet on the ground, the orange vest guys. They're going to be the ones out there. It could be after hours, whatever. I'm sure it's different, because now this is more of you're telling them. You're not like asking the council members. You're telling the guys, hey, this is what we're going to be doing. Where does your brain go in regards to selling that to them?
Well, I might be a little unique, or maybe I'm not, but I would use the same exact approach, but the answers would be different. How is this going to help you as an employee? If you do a good job next year, you will. When I go to the council and I ask for raises or equipment or what I'm needing to do to facilitate for you, they think back, well, you know what? These guys, look at this road these guys did, or look at this thing they did, and look how happy this resident was. Look at the quality of work. I know it's hard work. Don't get me wrong. In South Texas, it's 110 and you're putting down 200+ degree asphalt, man. That is not a fun August day. You know what I mean?
No,
but the rewards of that is getting that to political clout or political support, or however you want to call it, and showing them that, hey, later on when we tell them we need a 5% raise instead of a 2% or an 8% instead of a 6%, whatever numbers you're pushing to the city manager's office and the politicians have to vote on, having a good reputation of providing quality work at a nice pace is always a good selling point and a feather in the hat for departments.
Sure. I like it, man. Thanks for doing that, man. All right, story time. I need a story from Joshua when something went wrong under your watch, what you did to fix it, and then what lessons you learned from it to apply to your future career.
Oh man, just one? No, I'm just kidding. I guess I'll go with the biggest headache that I think I've ever encountered. I came into a project that was a year behind schedule, and based upon percentage of work completed versus percentage of budget expended, we were behind schedule and over budget. And the biggest problem I had was coordinating between the subs, the engineering firms, the consultants, city, the public. There was a school district that had 2 schools on this capital project we're doing. There was a wastewater treatment facility that had to have 24-hour access for in and out vehicles. There was nonprofit organizations. There were churches and their subdivisions. Like every other major capital project, there's a whole bunch of stakeholders that all have varying priorities. And the job was struggling. And it was also one of those jobs that had a lot of political ramifications, bad perceptions. Anytime you have to tell council you're behind schedule and over budget, it's never going to go well. I could have very easily came into that job and said, hey, it was like that when I got here. I didn't start this job. I'm in at this point. And there were definitely conversations like that. But the best way I could overcome that is had a great meeting with the decision makers involved and said, it doesn't matter the sins of the past. It doesn't matter what happened in the past. What we need to worry about is what we're going to do starting now in order to complete this job and do our best to kind of control the damage and make it somewhat turn out to be successful towards the end. And trying to manage the competing priorities between the general public, city leadership, and the contractor. You can't just tell the contractor, hey, I don't care that you're over budget and behind schedule. That is not going to get you anywhere. You need to get that contractor to admit that they're behind schedule and over budget, and have them take ownership. Have them take ownership over what they can do to rectify it. And it's the same thing with the city. The city has to admit what they have done to cause that project to fall behind, whether it was getting an RFI returned back sooner or something like that. Whatever is going back and forth. So there's never one party involved in a project of that size with that's a year behind schedule and so many complications. So you got to get all parties to admit where they have ownership over it, and then all parties take that same ownership in the solution that you decide on. And that's what we were able to do. And it's we actually wound up coming in only about 5%, 5 to 7% over budget on the job, even though we were over a year behind schedule. So, to me, I took that as a win. But it was a great project, and now the infrastructure is completed, and everybody's very happy in that area.
Dude, love it. Let's talk a little bit about the talent pool. So, City of Converse, you said it's a suburb of San Antonio. Mm-hmm. We kind of know what that looks like. Being here in Arizona, a lot of the bigger cities suck up all the talent because they can go down the road and make an extra $2, $5, $10, $15 sometimes. What's it like finding talent? And then also I want to kind of step into that institutionalized knowledge transfer. Those who might learn everything at Converse, they leave, and now you have to start up with somebody new.
Man, that's a huge mouthful there. The way that I approach it, I never go straight to dollars and cents. That comes later. You can pay somebody more money than the guy down the road, but they're still going to at some point get used to making that amount of money, and then it'll no longer be that enticement that it was. You kind of get dulled to that.
100%,
the money's needed. Don't get me wrong. We're going to fight for everything that the guys deserve at all times. And but realistically, my saying that I tell the guys all the time is, I am not here to make your job harder. It's repetitive. It's mundane. It's backbreaking. It's hot. It's cold. It's wet. It's never a perfect day on the job, it seems like. So my job is to not make it harder and balance what we have to do versus what we maybe should do versus what we are doing, and find that thing, that happy medium where the workers are happy, management is happy, and funds are being expended in a fiscally responsible manner, and the job's getting done. And so it's I'll tell you, I've heard of rules, I'll just put it to you that way, where you couldn't wear a ball cap at work unless it had a city logo. Or I've heard of rules where your shirt as a maintenance worker in the parks, the streets, the drainage, or whatever you're working at, you had to have your shirt tail tucked in at all times, because the people would perceive you, they want to perceive you as public. Well, shirt tail tucked in for safety while you're using power tools, I get it. But shirt tail tucked in just because you want the guy out there on his hands and knees fixing something in a hole, so that when someone sees him, they think he looks professional. In my opinion, you look professional as a public works employee when you're in a hole fixing something. That's what they want to see. They don't care if your shirt tail's tucked in. Yeah. And so I guess I use that as a reason of not making rules that make the job harder, but balancing that to the workers, and then listening. The first day that I walked into my new department, I asked questions. What do you want to change? Not that I was going to change it. I wanted to know what the problems I was walking into, and then be able to decide for myself if there was some type of operational policy that I could adjust a little bit here and there to make these guys look forward to coming to work instead of dread coming to work. And that's kind of my overreaching management philosophy. And it seems to be working real well. The city I'm at now had an issue with turnover, just like you mentioned. Never fact checked it, but I was told that for 5 years straight, the staff was not fully staffed because they took so long to hire versus how quick the turnover was, and they just never had a full staff. And in the last couple of years that I've been there, we've been pretty much fully staffed 100% of the time. We've had guys move on to better their career, which I also support. If you're going to go to another department that you have a greater opportunity for progression and success in your life, I'm not the type of person where I take that offense at all. The only way you would offend me by bettering yourself is if you forget you knew me once you got there. I still want to know that you're doing good. I still want you to say hi to me if I run into you down at the gas station or what have you. APWA meetings, stop by and say hi. I want to know how you're doing, you know?
Yeah.
And that's the only way you can really offend me is to forget the relationship we built maybe while we were working together. But totally supporting these guys going out there and bettering themselves. That's what I did. I'm not with the same organization I've been with, so it'd be hypocritical for me not to support people in those endeavors as well.
Yeah. That question you asked, what can we change, or what can you do to make their work experience better? How can one listening to this episode approach that to where you're not asking it too much, to where you're getting like, stuff that's pie in the sky, or you're not asking it and like 5 guys spout out 7 different things each, so now you got 35 tasks on your to-do list, and realistically you can only knock out 2 because the rest of them are, like, how can you approach that conversation but make it rational?
I wrote everything down, write everything down, sit down and look at them all with an open mind. Don't just immediately dismiss what they're asking for. Look at everything with an open mind. And then what you do, and here's the management practice that's gonna set the world on fire. Take the low-hanging fruit, man. Take the easy win. Take the easy win right off the bat. If the guy says, hey, I want my windows tinted on the truck because it takes too long for the air conditioner to cool it down on my way back to the shop or wherever during the middle of the day, tint the windows, man. That's a $150 job.
Yeah. Boom.
Take it out of your office supplies, director, or whoever's making the decision. Get those windows tinted. Those guys will every day appreciate those windows are tinted. And it's just one little example. I'm not even implying everyone should have tinted windows. I'm just saying take the easy win.
Yeah. It can be something as easy as like, hey, I don't like my parking spot. Can we park on this side of the yard and move those, those pallets on the other side, because the sun doesn't shine on it. Yeah. That's okay. How does Joshua continue to upskill? What do you do intentionally? It could be associations, it could be books, it could be YouTube videos, whatever. How do you continue to upskill yourself year after year after year?
My method of continuous improvement is continuously not reinventing the wheel. And I say that is it's basically by staying connected with your peers, with your counterparts, with other agencies, with other directors. The American Public Works Association is a prime example of this networking opportunity that you get out of things, but you put into things. You can read 100 books, but if you don't meditate on not one paragraph out of those books, what did you retain? But just reading a book's not going to get you there. Just going to a APWA meeting is not going to build you that relationship or get you access to the knowledge that you need, or the mentor that you might already know the answer to your question later. If you're not there, outgoing, introducing yourself, getting involved in the issues around public works. We talk about wages and salaries a lot. Every city's dealing with that. So podcasts like this, man, look, I listen to a lot of podcasts and I've learned a lot of stuff from podcasts, and what you're doing for the public works community is great. If anybody takes one thing out of this, listen to this podcast, and who knows what the conversation is going to lead to one day, and take one little morsel from everything. And eventually you'll probably be the best public works director in the history of the world, if you just take one little thing every now and then and incorporate it. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Let's talk about APWA or just associations in general.
Sure.
From my experience, I learned a lot of guys until they get to that supervisor, superintendent, director level, they don't even think about it. They're like, oh, why should I go to these meetings during work hours when I have to, like you said, be in a ditch, actually doing the work? I'm just prolonging the work that I have to do. What do you say to the associations to kind of make it more inclusive for those guys to show up? And then also those guys with that attitude of like, why should I go? It's not going to pay me more. And like the people I see there, that they can't help me out in my career.
Yeah, I would advise the associations to incorporate a philosophy that their biggest area, especially if you're in the world of public works and public service, there's more boots on the ground than there are administrators and directors and executive. So if you're in an organization and you need new blood or you need active participants so that you can be successful, then you as an organization should be focusing on those guys and what you can do for them, trying to make sure you have trainings incorporated that is relevant to their work experience. We're doing, it sounds simple, but every now and then you need to throw in a dig test training. Have the dig test folks come out, tell them why you're doing dig tests. Now, the guy that's been working for the city for 50
dig test, right?
Dig test. Yeah. Down here in Texas, we have what we call 811 dig test. You call before you start digging anywhere to make sure there's no utilities. And someone's been doing it for 15 years. They know what dig test is. They know how to submit a ticket, but you always have the guy that's the 1 or 2 or 3 year guy that maybe, if he's not the guy that ever had to call for the dig test, it's just simple trainings like that. But as an organization, you want to make sure, and I know what we try to do when I have the ability to direct the discussions, we're looking for a 50-50 split. If you want to come in here and have an ethics training specifically focused on an engineer that's required for their PE license, well, next week I want to have a PPE type training that these guys need. Some guys don't like steel toe boots. Well, why do I got to wear steel toe boots? You show them a video of a guy getting his foot mashed up with, they'll put those boots on real quick. And it's just things like that. You try to make sure that you're balancing the full range of issues that we work with inside public works.
Yeah, no, I respect that 50-50 split. Like, hey, if you're gonna cater to this side, we also need some love on this side also. PWI. So I've spoken at PWI out here in Arizona. It's always a great event because again, it's those it could be crew leads, those guys, those fleet guys who are tired of turning wrenches or tired of being covered in hydraulic oil. They want to get in the office, get in the air conditioning, or even just again, like they want a more they want to make their kids' softball game. So instead of having a, ask the boss man, hey, can I get off? They have a more of a regimented schedule to where they can plan their life around that. What's your involvement with PWI and kind of where do you see the value in it at? And then where do you think it can go? Like, where could the heights be of it?
Yeah. The Public Works Institute of Texas, particularly, I was a graduate of class 2, and what it did for me personally was I was a boots on the ground guy. I didn't go to college, as I mentioned, straight out of school. So I went into the work. And when I got hired for a city and decided, okay, I think I like public works. What do I need to do to get better at it? One of the first things that I ran into due to the associations that I had with our APWA here in our branch, I said, you know what, this Public Works Institute sounds like something I want to do. So I was able to get the buy-in from the city I was working with at the time. It's a 2-year program here to graduate. And I did that. And when we were done, based upon my years of experience and participation in that 2-year program, I was able to sit for a professional credential, a certified public works professional credential. And when I achieved that credential, I said, man, that's pretty cool. I have something that I put at the end of my name that tells somebody that doesn't know me that I'm a professional in something. And so I thought to myself, man, what a neat deal for the guy in the pickup truck, which was me, to provide themselves an opportunity to get into the office or get into a planning and administrative role. And when I completed that program, it may sound kind of funny if any engineers are listening to this now. When I completed that program, I started thinking about PE credentials, right? Like professional engineer. I'm not an engineer. Don't listen. I'm not leading that on. But what I'm saying is I looked at engineers, 4-year degree, and then a professional credential that a organization set them criteria and metrics to reach in order to get that credential to use it. And in my mind, that's what I was achieving with my certified public works credential. I had a professional organization setting achievable metrics for me to hit to where they would allow me to use this symbol as a professional. So that actually motivated me to go back to college as a 38-year-old man at night and at weekends online and everything I had to do. Because I said, you know what? I'm going to go get me a 4-year degree. I'm going to have me a professional credential, and I am going to be the director of public works for a significant city one day. I didn't know I wanted to do that till I was 38 years old. And believe it or not, I want to say about 9 credits away from graduating, which the university I attended was 3 or 4 classes away. And a job came opening at the city that I'm with now. And I told myself, well, they're probably not going to hire me because I haven't graduated yet, but I'm going to apply anyways. I applied, went through the interview process. Turns out that the credential that I had through this professional organization was a huge reason why they considered me. Plus, they saw that I was currently enrolled. And that was one of the questions. Hey, how much you got left? Are you going to finish? And I'm like, yeah, I'm going to have my bachelor's degree in 4 or 5 months. And they said, great, you want the job? And I said, wow, hold on. You mean to tell me that it worked out that quickly to where I got this? Yeah. It also because of the experience I had and the association I had with other agencies. And that I think a lot of that all was hand in hand. Plus the Public Works Institute, I was sitting on the committee of the Institute at the time. I added that to my resume. So if you're a hiring manager and you see, here's this guy on the committee for the Public Works Institute, got this credential through this organization and is achieving his bachelor's degree, and he's got 13 years experience in the role that we're hiring for. I mean, it made the application to the point where I got the opportunity. And realistically, I didn't start making any of those plans until I was in my mid 30s or later. And here I am in my early 40s, and it's all kind of worked out for me.
I love the aspect about the credential and also going to school on your own, because that doesn't take networking. And I'm a huge fan of networking. Usually the most or some of the best experiences or opportunities I had in life were because people knew me, or I knew them, and we had conversations. They say, hey, look at this. But what you just said was there could be somebody in a crew. They're just getting out of a ditch right now. They're driving back to their office. They can go and get a credential, and they can enroll, not finish yet. They can enroll in a 4-year program, in a bachelor degree program. And all of a sudden, now they're food for a public works director position. You get what I'm saying? They could have 10, 15 years in the industry. They get their credential, start taking their bachelor's at night. Boom. Now they're potential public works director. You don't have to go out and do all the crazy stuff and 10,000 applications, but you can do those 2 things and you'll be in position for it.
And I can't speak for every city, but both cities I've been a part of, I'm only with my second city of all time. As I mentioned, I started in the private sector. Both cities were more than willing and actually excited to pay for me to attend the Public Works Institute of Texas. I have guys in my department enrolled. In fact, once I graduated, every department, I made sure there was a student enrolled in that class at all times, because it's succession planning, it's career development. And I'll tell you another thing, the city that I left to come to the city I'm at now, the director that took that position, not only did I hire him with 0 public works experience coming in, he graduated from the Institute. He's now working to his bachelor's, and he's the director at the public works public works director for the city I left. This continuous improvement, and just some of the work you can do on the clock, so to speak, the city will support those type of initiatives. Some of the work you got to do yourself, but I highly encourage anybody looking to advance themselves professionally to look into those type of items in whatever organization you're a part of in the area that you're working in.
You told me about one of your hobbies, or something that you do on the side. You're in the sports broadcasting, telecasting. You got your, you do your thing on the side. One thing I like about taking on a task similar to that is because the micro skills you learn in doing something like that on the side automatically make Joshua a better operator in his public works director position. Like how you have to succinctly digest a game or a commentary, come out with a talking point, and then support your talking point. I'm sure has helped you when you went to council to be able to sell something to the city council. Talk to us about it.
Look, man, when I was in high school, if you would have told me that I would have a hobby that I thoroughly enjoyed and the primary function of this hobby was sitting down and writing an article of some sort, I would have told you were crazy, because I didn't read articles, more or less have a desire to write them. So I got into the hobby because I'm a sports fan, and a sports team was relocating, or actually starting, a new sports team was starting in the area. And I really wanted some information, because who's the coach, who's the player, who's this, who's that? And there was nobody really putting anything out there. And I got frustrated to the point where, and I started looking for YouTube channels and podcasts and everything I could find. And I got to the point where I was like, you know what? Nobody's doing anything. I'm going to do it. And so I just literally started doing it 3 years ago. And my education that I got when I went back to school with public works, as well as my public speaking, as well as having to sit down and write a professional email or a professional memo or a professional ordinance of some sort, that practice that I received doing that, that's probably the most important thing that I was able to learn while going to college, was the right way to articulate something in a written format that was sharing information in a professional manner to where people would be able to digest it. And almost, you're going to write an article about sports. Well, I'm trying to tell you that this is a good team or a good player. I'm trying to write a memo to the city council telling them this is a good maintenance practice and selling them on what I'm doing. It all kind of goes hand in hand with just a different topic. And so the writing skills and the ability to articulate thoughts in a written format, and then being able to vocalize it also. Once you write it down, vocalizing it is pretty easy. You're already the expert on what you wrote, so now you just have to talk about it, right?
Right.
And so it's pretty weird that that all that kind of went hand in hand. It's something I enjoy doing it. I never thought I would enjoy sitting down and writing thoughts on a piece of paper. It's somewhat therapeutic, to be perfectly honest with you, especially if you're writing about something you love. So I recommend everyone try it.
Where can we find your work at?
Oh man, you're gonna make me put it out there, huh? Well, my professional life and hobby life doesn't always run into each other, but I'll tell you what. I work for a group called United Football Media. We cover various United Football League teams and alternative football leagues. So we do some NFL stuff, but there's a bunch of people out there doing NFL stuff.
Saturated.
We're focusing on the niche alternative football. And I personally manage the Brahma Bullpen account. There's a San Antonio Brahmas football team in San Antonio. BrahmaBullpen.com if you want to go check out some of my stuff. Didn't mean to plug that on here, but you asked me, so I'm going to do it.
Come on, man. I'm sure people want to learn, or at least check out some of your stuff. I mean, a lot of people don't even know about the Brahma Bulls, so it's I think we should do that.
Check it out.
And then again, like, this is kind of the call to action to the people listening. Like, if you have a hobby, talk about it, do it. Be the best at it, be great, because again, the gift, skills, and talents that you'll attain doing that will inherently help you in your normal 9-to-5 job or your work job.
I started as a hobby 3 years ago, and last season I received my first actual league issued media credential.
Wow.
I've had the wonderful opportunity of interviewing the head coach of the team, the interim head coach of the team, defensive coordinators, players, league executive. I had to have an interview on my channel right now where I got to interview a league executive.
Wow.
And not that I'm not doing it professionally. I feel like we're doing professional work, but it's a hobby that I put enough blood, sweat, and tears in, so to speak, that I've been able to get to this point of it somewhat being like another profession. So, you take anything you're going to do, strive for continuous improvement. Who knows? Maybe you turn a hobby into a retirement gig. Who knows, right?
Sure. Yeah, for sure. All right. What is one of the biggest misconceptions about what you do? Like, let's say you're out at a dinner party or anywhere, like you're out on the street, somebody asks you, so what do you do, Joshua? You tell them I'm the director of public works here in Converse, Texas. What do you think they think you do?
You tell someone that you're the director of public works, they think that you work at a stress-free environment where you're putting in the minimum hours a week, and you just have this nice, easy life. I'll tell you that is the furthest thing from the truth. Jobs are complicated. There's a lot of competing priorities. One of the things that has always been instilled on me is the responsibility of spending someone else's money. And then you're spending someone else's money in a manner that's going to be impacting your organization for decades. You don't build a road to last a year. You don't plan a special district for a year. You're making impacts on people's quality of life, literally, that will outlive many of their lives. 50 plus years down the road, people are still going to be driving on that street, that new road, that capital project. That water's still going to be going through the line. You're still going to have this water tower that you just built that has to be maintained for the life of the infrastructure. Where you put it, how you put it, what color it is, what the volume it can handle, all of those things that you're making decisions on a daily basis. If you stop to think about it too much, you might get overwhelmed. So it's kind of just go do it and get the action done. But if anyone thinks that it's stress-free, easy, I'm not saying there's not jobs more stressful. Don't get me wrong. I'm talking about my microcosm and bubble that I live in. So please, no, I'm not trying to diminish any other roles. Everybody who has professions have parts of it that are stressful. But you ask me, people think we're living this easy life on easy street, working minimum hours a week. And let me tell you, it's Friday. We're recording this on a Friday. Before I got to this point, I'm well over 50 hours for the week. I was working before I got on this podcast. I'll be working when I get off of this podcast. And I'm going to get 2 calls tomorrow on my Saturday, different things too. I mean, a key stakeholder walks out in their front yard and there's a pothole that wasn't there yesterday. They don't care if you're at work or not. That's getting reported to somebody. So it's the balancing act, and it's not quite as good. And it's true for all of the public works related, utilities, streets, drainage, all that stuff. The pressure of making sure that when someone turns a faucet on in their house, not only water comes out, but clean, drinkable, life-sustaining water comes out of there. Where would a city be if there was nobody taking the trash and disposing of it properly? There would be so much trash everywhere. And I know you've talked about that on your podcast before, but people that listen to this, there's a lot of moving parts that go into that to keep the quality of life. And parks, right? Like parks, people oftentimes love parks, but they take it for granted that they're there. Well, someone had to build them. Someone's maintaining them. Someone's removing the graffiti. Someone's cleaning up after the kid that wanted to just rip a sink off for no reason. It's all these crazy things that happen inside these facilities that we're just constantly, a lot of people might not know they happen because we're getting a hold of them and repairing them before they run into it, right?
Yeah, I say all the time, and I'll echo it again. The difference between a third world country and a first world country is public works. Because if we stop getting water to people and taking wastewater from people, and we stop paving the roads, we're automatically a third world country.
Yeah. If there's a fireman on this call, go ahead and mute me now. Okay, but I have said this to a fire chief before.
Uh-oh.
I have. He took it good. It was in a joking manner. We weren't being confrontational. But what good is a fireman if he turns on the hydrant and nothing comes out? They're just fire watchers, right? They're not firefighters.
Fire watchers,
They're fire watchers. And then what if they get into that ambulance or the fire truck and they turn the key and the engine doesn't start?
Yeah,
now they're a fleet is always one of those things under the public works umbrella that often gets left out in many of the conversations. but making sure that those emergency response vehicles are ready to roll at all times.
Yeah.
And they're maintained. You know, I have one truck that I own personally, and the oil change light been on for 3 weeks. Okay. I mean, okay, I'm just saying that it gets lost in the wash because a couple more miles ain't gonna hurt nothing. Well, you don't want to take that attitude to a $500,000 or $1 million fire apparatus.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that's a good point. All right, let's say you're commissioned to put up a billboard, and this billboard is in the most trafficked area of Converse, Texas. What ask of your community in regards to public works would you put on this billboard?
Oh man, if I was to put up a message in the city, the message would be tell us what you need. An engaged community, regardless of good or bad, provides us a direction to move towards. If you hit a pothole 20 times and you come into my office and you're upset, I get it. We're going to fix it. My question is why it took 19 more rim strikes for you to tell me about it. I want to get it fixed now. That's a microcosm. If you want a park, if you want more roads, if you want whatever you want, civil engagement. Tell me what you need. Some things you might be asking for are complex and expensive, and I might need 4 or 5 years just to get the idea put together and get the buy-in to make it happen for you. So the sooner you tell us, the sooner we can start working towards. So I guess my deal would be a link to our reporting app and just telling us, let us know how we can help.
All right, I like it. I always like to leave a space on the show for you to thank mentors that you had along your journey. And then I want you to give a word of inspiration and motivation to your fellow public works director counterparts across the country.
Oh man, my favorite part. Well, I have a bunch of mentors, and I don't know who. I would not be able to list them all, but I'm gonna the first mentor, and he's gonna get mad because I tell the story a lot. He's gonna get mad if he runs into. I'm gonna send him this podcast. Make sure he listens it to the end. But his name is Tony Vasquez. And he works for the county here that is Bexar County, which is the county of San Antonio, and the cities I work for are located in. My first couple of weeks on the job, first new to public works, I get called to this house for an issue. I go over there, do my best. Obviously, I'm lacking because I'm not only the first public works employee, I don't have no one to learn from. I have no experience in this, as we talked about. And he was very cordial, polite, and he asked me when I was done, he says, "Hey, can I come by your office one day?" And I said, "Sure, yeah." He's like, "I think I can help you." The next day he was in my office for 3 or 4 hours and told me what public works was. Then he told me what I needed to do and what I needed to look at and what I needed to learn. Then he gave me his personal cell phone number and says, "Call me anytime." When he walked out of the office, the first thought in my head was, this guy is not going to answer the phone when someone from this little old city, or this guy who's only been doing this for 2 seconds, calls in for advice. A few weeks went by, something happened, I needed advice. And I tried Google, I tried YouTube, I tried the city administrator's office, I tried all the real quick, things around me. And I said, you know what? I have no idea what the solution to this problem is. I'm going to call this number. Answered on the second ring, solved my problem in 30 seconds. It was not even a significant problem. And ever since then, he's answered the phone every time I called him. I still call him to this day. He's still working in the area. And it's not just me. What I've come to learn is he helps everybody who needs it. He helps everybody he can. And it's just the person that he is. And so if he hears this, I've always appreciated. He gets mad when I tell the story. He really does. He hates me telling people that he's my friend. Yes. And then the other people I'll mention, 2 other names. I can't mention them all. So if I leave you off and you've helped me, I apologize. But a gentleman by the name of Tim Tumultly helped me out tremendously. And another gentleman by the name of John German, who has been an inspiration for public works professionals in the San Antonio and Austin area for decades. So I'll throw those 2 names out there as people that I've been able to lean on in the past. And if any of y'all ever get to meet Tony, Tim, or John, take a minute and listen. If you've already met them, you know what I'm talking about. Those guys are amazing. And hopefully one day, I'll be able to do that same for somebody else. That's
Sure.
Pay it backwards, so to speak.
I'm sure you will. What do you say to those that are in the trenches or in the same position you're in, all the other public works directors across the country? What do you say to keep motivated, keep them inspired?
Well, it's going to sound awkward, but here's my go-to motivational speech, no matter who I'm talking to. And I'll explain it after I say it. Public Works, we're the only department with work right in the name. The reason I say that, not to brag that we're the only ones that work, it's used as an encouragement tool to say, hey, I know it's hard, but it's literally what we're here to do. Let's get it done together. I also say that to outside of our agency, because oftentimes people forget, or they maybe will lose perspective on what we're doing. We are here to work. We are not here to necessarily sit around and wait for something to happen, so to speak. We're out there putting in the work. And I use that to encourage, and I also use that to inform. Public Works, we're the only department with work right in the name. And if you say that enough, you know how if you go to someone every day and you say, hey, have a good day. Hey, have a great day. Hey, have a good day. Eventually, one of the times they are going to have a good day. And they're going to think, man, he told me to have a good day. When I say, hey, Public Works, we're the department with work in the name, those guys get out there and something gets in their way and they're getting frustrated and they start thinking to themselves, why am I here? And they say, you know what? It's in the name. I'm here to provide this service to the public, and what I'm providing requires work. So let's just get it done.
I like it. All right, Joshua, the most important question of your career is up next. Let's say I'm coming to Converse, Texas, and I text you ahead of time. Say, Joshua, where can I go to get the best burger in Converse? Where are you going to send me?
Well, I'm going to break your heart because I know you're a burger guy, but I'm going to say the best food in Converse is a mom and pop restaurant that's been there for decades called Papa Dante's. It has some of the best lasagna I've ever had. They do have burgers and chicken fried steak. They have meatloaf on Wednesdays. I recommend all of it. Everything is good. They have burgers and pizza and all that, but it's home style, old school type burger. So it's not like you're not getting something processed. They have hot sandwiches. They have hot sandwiches. Oh my goodness, I could tell you about these hot sandwiches they serve there. They're not Subway sandwiches. And then the place has a unique vibe. On the wall is old pictures from generations and generations of actors and stars and athletes. They still sell 1990s, 1995 full sets of baseball cards, Topps baseball cards. And they're in the box because they've always done it, so they still do it. You know what I mean? It's just they got a little ice cream parlor there, and they got great desserts, and the food's amazing. And so you're coming to Converse, man. I'm taking you to lunch at Papa Dante's, and you're asking me what's good on the menu. I said it's all good. Just get it.
All right, Papa Dante's it is. Well, Joshua, thanks for hopping on the podcast today. Thank you for sharing your wealth of information knowledge to everybody. To all the listeners out there, make sure you share this with somebody who you think needs to hear it. Joshua, any final words before we get out of here?
Public service is a great calling. If you're on the edge about jumping in, just jump in. The rewards are worth it.
All right, Joshua, this has been the Public Works Podcast, and thank you, everybody, for tuning in.